Just like I did with the best characters in the Vampire Diaries universe, I was definitely gonna do one for the worst. Now, just like I said in a previous video, there are lots of characters in this verse. Like, there is 17 seasons of television, and most of them are either average or just terrible. Now, to make it fair, I am not going to be talking about characters that only showed up for one episode, or characters that only showed up for a couple of episodes. As always, this is strictly my opinion. You're very likely going to disagree, so let me know your rankings in the comments below. On to the worst of the worst.
Enough! You are children! You cannot kill a god! But I can kill you.
If you're wondering why Ken is here, because for some reason people assume that Ken, just because he was in season 4 of Legacies, he's automatically a good villain. He was not, but if you're wondering why he's here, it is because Ken personifies everything I dislike about the villains in the Vampire Diaries universe. Most of the villains, of course. I'm not talking about all of them, because there were times in which villains were really well written. However, the villains that aren't, which is majority of the villains in the verse, the reason why is because the Vampire Diaries uses this model that almost never works, which is that villains must be bigger and more powerful than the previous villain for the villain to be a better villain. That has only worked 3 times. Damon, then Catherine, then Klaus. That's it. The moment they added Silas to that formula, it failed. And that's the thing with the Hollow and Cade and the Sirens and the Heretics and so on. The more powerful the character does not and will not ever mean that the character is a better written character. A lot of the time, 99% of their personality is just their power, or they're just really annoying. However, in Ken's situation, his personality is literally just his power. In fact, they tried to make him into Klaus, which did not work because Ken isn't that interesting. There is nothing about Ken that's interesting other than the fact that he's powerful. Not only do we not know anything about Ken, bearing in mind he died, but his motivations as to why he was doing the things that he was doing in season 4 was just stupid. Like, oh, the tribe is claiming to be the most powerful being on Earth. I'm the most powerful being on Earth, so I must fight her. That's so dumb. But that literally is his motivation. There was literally no other possible reason as to why he wanted Hope dead. He just wants Hope dead because Hope claims to be the most powerful being in the verse. Like, they had the opportunity to flesh out his character a little bit when he claimed that Jen was lying, and he was trying to prove to Aurora that Jen was lying, and they showed exactly why he decided to lock himself in a coffin, because he doesn't want his family to die. Why not just show it? Don't off-screen us, show it to us. Make us understand his point of view. The best villains are villains in which you can technically understand their side. But in this situation, I don't know this guy's side. All he has is that he is just bland and boring and literally just a walking nothing. He's just a character with a lot of power and a lot of authority and is a little bit terrifying, but there is nothing about him that screams complex. He is just nothing.
You will also get the satisfaction of knowing that you were directly responsible for Malivore's destruction.
How generous of you, Tribrid. But why should I believe that you, my second most detestable enemy, would keep your end of the bargain?
Because seeing is believing. If you sever your ties, then the world will become unstable. Holes will start to open up. Doors, all you have to do is walk through one. You can be in control of your own fate. Think you'll go for it, Landon?
I am not Landon. I am the dictator of departed souls, the monarch of the macabre, the almighty...
Knock it off.
I mean, he's pretty unpredictable. You and Malivore are literally the only 2 things he's afraid of, so if he's been on the run from the Mudman, you have even more leverage.
That's a ringing endorsement.
Now, I don't hate Landon, I just think that he's a bad character. And in this regard, they tried to make him a good character. It just didn't work. And this is because Landon as a character is just bland, literally just like Ken. And at least with Ken, Ken's role is for him to be terrifying and for him to be powerful. He fits his role. That's the only reason why I have Landon lower than him. But they basically have the exact same issue. And also with Ken, they didn't particularly try that hard with Ken in terms of making us resonate with the character. With Landon, they did, multiple times. We had 4 seasons with him. And there's not a single episode in which you can say that this episode is a really deep episode for Landon. Or a really deep scene for Landon. And when people try to defend him, the scenes that they try to show me are just scenes in which it proves just how low the bar is for us to actually like Legacies, and specifically Legacies characters, because there really isn't any. I'm not even talking about it being in the top 10 best scenes in the entire verse. No, I mean like for it to just be good, like it being in the top like 60. There is none. Like, for you to describe about the deep things about Landon's character, you would have to think deep, like really deep. And this is just to name like 1 or 2. And this guy is a main character, as in he's integral to the main plot lines from the start of season 1 all the way to the end of Malivore's plotline, because he was the most integral character with regards to Malivore's plotline other than Hope, because he's the son of Malivore, so he is integral to that plotline. No tearjerkers, no edge of your seat, no nothing. And he's so boring as well. He's a character that's literally carried by Hope just because he's Hope's boyfriend. In fact, I believe Hope's connection to him drags down her character drastically. I believe if they weren't a couple or they wasn't attached to each other, then Hope would have been a fantastic character from the very start, because Hope became a good character all the way at the end when she was on her own doing her own thing, in which her decision making isn't just Landon. So yeah, just like Ken, he's not annoying, he's just nothing. He's just boring and bland.
See, I can't relax and sip Mai Tais while you're out hunting my brother. And every time I kill you, you just phoenix back to life. It's a deal.
Why don't you just let me kill your brother? Then you can do whatever the hell you want.
Tempting, truly. But I kinda owe him. Family, am I right? That's why you and I have to put our heads together and come up with a plan B.
You want me to go against my very nature because he's your family?
Pretty much.
Funny thing is, family's the very reason this is my nature. My father envisioned a world without vampires. I will not rest until I see his vision through.
The thing with Rayna Cruz is that she isn't particularly boring, she's actually quite entertaining. The problem is, she isn't really memorable. Like 90% of her storyline, you don't remember anything about her. The only thing you remember are her punching and kicking people. That's it. That's why I say she isn't particularly boring. Other than that, there was literally nothing to go for her character. They do actually try to humanize her, but most people don't even remember her storyline. And obviously for me, who has to remember her storyline, there's literally nothing about her that's even slightly complex other than the stuff with Julian. Yes, she wants revenge on Julian because Julian was the reason why her dad died. But other than that, there's really nothing about her storyline. She's just, I don't even know what to describe her as. She just punches and kicks really hard and everyone is afraid of her. But the worst thing, as in the worst thing of note, is again, the fact that she is really forgettable. Like, some people only remember like a couple of scenes from her. Some don't even remember her character at all. Like, it's to the point in which season 7 is probably the second most forgettable season in the entire show. And that's all because of Rayna Cruz's storyline.
The intern. Where's my sister? I tried to free the girl in the cell, just like you asked. And she told me to tell you to piss off. She doesn't need your help. Well, I tried. Look, I'm sorry to have to involve you in this, sweetie. It's just that in this case, I really do have to kill the messenger. By the way, the girl you killed in a car accident a few years ago, kind of a deal breaker. Send Kate my regards.
Seline has the exact same problem as Rayna Cruz because she is very forgettable. Yes, she's in season 8. Yes, she's the other siren. The fact that me saying that she's the other siren will get you to understand who she actually is, way more than me calling her by her name, shows exactly just how forgettable she is. She is just the other siren. That's it. Not Seline, the other siren. The one that Sybil calls her sister. That's it. Just like a Rayna Cruz, there's like 2 scenes I remember from her. Bearing in mind, she's a main villain, along with Sybil, of course. Yes, Sybil was on screen a lot more, but Seline was also on screen a lot, but we don't remember anything from her. Like, the only scenes I remember from her are when we discovered that Seline was the other siren and when she tried to trade in the twins for her freedom. That's it. Maybe you might remember like 1 or 2 scenes from when she was a babysitter and nobody knew that she was a siren. But generally speaking, if you can only remember like 3, 4, 5 or 6 scenes that she was in 9 episodes, then she was a really bad character. Or at least a really inconsequential character that was supposed to be consequential. And obviously because I have to remember the things that she did because I talk about the Vampire Diaries in my channel, she kind of was just there. She was kind of annoying, way more annoying than Sybil. I don't know why a lot of people hate Sybil, when Seline is far more annoying and isn't really entertaining in any way. In terms of complexity, we don't even get a backstory for her. Like, we don't even get anything with regards to writing for her. For a character that spanned 9 episodes, that's insane.
Watsi Koa Pampili.
I will break your body. Then I will break your spirit. Though your spirit is nearly broken already, isn't it?
The Hollow, unlike Seline, is memorable. That does not negate the fact that the Hollow is still a bad character. The Hollow existed for a whole season and still sucked. And for some reason, a lot of people are really astounded by me saying that the Hollow is a bad character. Like, people will swear that the Hollow is a really good character. And when you ask them why she's a good character, they'll probably be like, oh, well, she beat the Originals and something about power and such. Yes, she is powerful. I am never going to discredit anything about her with regards to power. However, if you remove power, her character literally fails completely. In fact, her character will literally be completely empty like her name. Because the only thing that's holding her as a character is the fact that she's powerful. That's it. Which is insane for a character that's the main villain for the entire season. 1, her backstory is below average. 2, she literally has no motivations, she's just evil. That's it. 3, if you remove her from the storyline, her as an individual character is awful. And if you put her back into the storyline and you talk about the storyline as a whole, as in the entire storyline with her included and every other character within the storyline is bang average. Like, in fact, even below average. It is mediocre at best. 4, she doesn't bounce off well with any character. And finally, 5th, and probably my most important aspect, she is not entertaining and she is really annoying. Like, really annoying. The two vampires were terribly written, they ruined season 1 for me. They were really forgettable, like they just sucked all around. Like, it's to the point in which the reason why I didn't list them as individual characters is because the only one I remember is Pearl. That's it. And there's a lot of them, and that's the entire group. Pearl is the only one I remember. And they were in 7 or 8 episodes. Like, they were that bad. They ruined season 1 for me.
The spell the travelers cast across Mystic Falls eliminates spirit magic. So while my people continue to have access to the Earth's purest magic, your friend Tyler will be stripped of everything the witches did to him. First his hybrid side, then his vampirism. And with no vampirism to keep him alive, he'll just be a boy with a werewolf gene who happened to break his neck.
No! 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 Don't do this! No! No! Stop! Stop! Please don't! Don't! No! Please! God!
Do you know how boring you have to be so bad that 50% of a season nobody remembers? That's Markos. And pretty much the rest of the travelers, but Markos particularly. Like, this guy was so forgettable that the first time I watched The Vampire Diaries, I genuinely don't remember he was there. Like, I assumed that season 5 ended when Silas and Ketsia died. It did not. That was only episode 6. And that season had 22 episodes, meaning there were 16 more episodes in that season after Silas and Ketsia died. And the only thing I remember from that season is Catherine and Nadia's storyline. That's it. Like, season 5 is underrated in a sense in which it should be viewed as way worse than the way that people currently view it as. Because it is that bad. Everyone got ruined, every single character was bad in this season, and Markos was the epitome of that. Other than the scene I just showed you, what scene do you remember from Markos? Now, don't get me wrong, there were really important scenes in which he was in, but you don't remember the scene, you just remember the information. For example, when he confirmed that he was the one that placed the doppelganger love spell on obviously all the doppelgangers, do you remember the scene? Of course not. Do you know who he was talking to? Of course not. In fact, the only thing that you want to remember from that scene is what he said, and for that very specific part of the scene, which is insane for the season's main villain. And it isn't even just that he was forgettable, he is literally just flat and boring in every way. Boring backstory, boring storyline, boring actor, boring character. That's it, he was just boring all around.
Whenever you may think of me, my family's been a part of the human faction for years, which makes me uniquely qualified to take Father Kieran's place. You'll deal with me from now on.
Are you giving me a mandate?
No. I'm giving you an ally. I want peace just as much as you do. My lifestyle, which I enjoy very much, depends on it.
Yes, I can see you're highly motivated.
With Markos, at least with him, his storyline was just boring. Like, everything that happened after Silas and Katsia died was just boring, except for the Nadia and Catherine stuff, like I said earlier on. But with Francesca, she was involved in two of the most exciting episodes in the entire verse, as in two of the most action-packed episodes in the entire verse. I'm obviously referring to the Battle of New Orleans and From a Cradle to a Grave, the last two episodes of season 1. But for some reason, a lot of people don't remember that Francesca was there, or at least the things that she did in those episodes, even though she played a really pivotal part in both of those episodes. And the reason why that is because Francesca was so bad and so annoying, and people just don't like her, to the point in which people collectively remove her from their memory. That's how bad she was. Like, the only thing I get from Francesca was her motivation, which was obviously Marcel taking New Orleans from her family, but everything else was awful. Everything else about her was just terrible. Like, she was annoying. Like, she was so annoying that she had to die in the very first episode of season 2 because people really didn't like her. She's also a boring and dry character, and her storyline was really lackluster. Sucky character, nearly ruined season 1 for me.
Call it what it is. A dirtying of my species, which diminishes the pure and superior nature of vampires.
Make your point.
Your daughter will purify herself, submitting to the same spell that your mother, Esther, once used to bind you. Once her werewolf side is sublimated, Hope will no longer be capable of creating her abominations.
And what if I don't agree?
It's a simple choice. Your daughter's werewolf nature, or her mother's worldly lives. Clock is ticking.
I somehow dislike Greta more than I dislike Francesca. Somehow, like, Greta is far worse than Francesca. Not only is she more annoying than her, literally very terrible on every single front. Like, literally every single aspect of her character is awful. At least for Francesca, she had a decent motivation. Greta had none. She had a motivation, sure, but it was just dumb. It's to the point in which I agreed with Klaus completely. Like, Klaus was 100% in the right. Now, there's other times that I agree with Klaus, don't get me wrong, but a lot of those times, you understand exactly where the other person is coming from. However, with Greta, you don't, ever. Remember, Klaus killed her husband because her husband was hunting his kind. So he killed him, justifiably, so that he stops hunting them, because he tried to tell him to stop and he very obviously didn't. And he even gloated to Klaus about the people that he killed. Klaus was 100% in the right in that situation. In fact, he chose not to kill Greta or her adopted children. So yeah, this is pre-Hope Klaus, as in pre-Hope's birth Klaus, and he was somehow 100% in the right in a decision making that involves murder. That is how terrible Greta's motivation is. With regards to the other motivation of her trying to get rid of all of the werewolves and also all of the hybrids, political stuff never works with shows that aren't political. Why the hell are we bringing up supremacy stuff in a supernatural show like the Originals? Vampire supremacy, really? That's how low we got for a storyline? That is how bad season 5 was. Like, the only saving grace for season 5 was literally just the main characters. The storylines were all dead, literally all the way until the very end. Also, I forgot to mention that she is really annoying, like ridiculously annoying, almost to the point in which I basically skip every single scene that she's in. Like, that is how annoying she is. Like, the only times I watch her scenes are scenes in which it is really important, like Hailey's death. But those are the scenes that infuriates me the most. And the fact that she's the reason why Hailey died pisses me off even more. Yes, of course, I had my issues with Hailey at the start of the show, but Hailey started to grow on me and I started to like her, and she died to her. You know what? To summarize it, Greta sucks. That's it.
Yo, where are you? Malivore? This bitch is everywhere!
My clue. You must not be here. Hurry home.
No, you need to protect our village, and I will protect you. I'm a muse too. Take me instead.
No, Cleo!
I'm not having you.
Malivore, oh my god, like Malivore is somehow even worse than Greta and Francesca, like way worse. There's massive flaws with Greta and Francesca, but not on this scale. Like, to understand just how bad Malivore is, Malivore killed the entire verse. That is how bad he was. The Vampire Diaries universe ended because of this guy's existence. This guy ruined the entire show, which consequently led to the end of the entire verse. Because for some reason, the writers believe that this uninteresting mud monster is somehow compelling enough to be the overarching villain for 4 seasons. Yes, he died in season 4. He is not interesting, his backstory and his mythology added nothing to the entirety of the mythology of the Vampire Diaries universe. He had not one great scene, not a single good chemistry with anyone, like he didn't bounce off positive with anyone. What about Cleo? They don't have chemistry, they just happen to be in a lot of scenes together. Like, he's terrible in every single way. And for some reason, they only decided to humanize him in the 3rd season of his existence. Before that, he was literally just a human-like mud. That's it. So this guy spent over 2.5 seasons being unable to talk. And not to mention, this guy died in season 4 and we barely know much about his backstory. Yes, we know how he was made, but the reason as to why his motivation is the way that he is, like, we don't know exactly why he wants a mortal body. Like, all I can take from his reason of wanting a mortal-like body or a human-like body was that he wants to be more powerful. But how the hell does that add to his character in terms of complexity? Especially to the point in which we spent over 3 seasons entirely with a character that nothing about him added anything to the show positively. And he's the main villain. Yes, that's longer than when Klaus was a villain in the Vampire Diaries. That's longer than when Catherine was a villain in the Vampire Diaries. Neither of them lasted that long. Darla didn't last that long. No. Malivore lasted that long. And they were surprised that the show died completely and the rest of the verse just went with it.